Welcome to Storytime with the Intimacy Ally. Each episode will tear down a myth, kick a social norm in the beanbag, gut punch a sex ed untruth, or destroy a poorly constructed relationship expectation. Get ready to unlearn all the crap you accepted as fact. Strap in for a mind-blowing revision on what sex is and what it can do. Prepare yourself for a whole new thought pattern when it comes to modern relationships. And now, here's your host, Jenny Simas, the Intimacy Ally, relationship expert and certified sex and intimacy coach.
Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back to Storytime with the Intimacy Ally. I am Jenny Simas, your host. I have had a week. I will tell you that right now. I have had a week, and I know that I'm not alone in just everything seeming to suck just like a little bit more with how the world is playing out. I just want, if I can, really quickly, if you're listening to this and you're a person who, believes in Tikkun Olam or any kind of healing the world type mentality, if you could just, for a moment, envision love shooting out of your chest or your head or wherever you would do a visualization of just seeing love go from your body to someone else. Can you just send some of that out into the world wherever you think it's needed most? Just send that out into the world because it's needed. It's necessary. Thank you. I appreciate you helping with that if you decided to join in. All right, deep breaths, my lovelies. Today we are talking about the myth of romantic relationships being the cure for loneliness or depression. I hate to break it to you, but it's a pile of bullshit. I'm going to read to you an excerpt from a book. This is basically to break down why love is not the cure for loneliness. But it is an excerpt from the book, Stop Being Lonely, 3 Simple Steps to Developing Close Friendships and Deep Relationships by Kira Asatryan. Asatryan? Oh, I will have the book and the author in the show notes because I don't want to get sued or anything. But she just really, in this excerpt, she just really spoke to me, and so I want to share it. Now, she says, you may have been wondering why I have yet to mention love in the discussion of loneliness. Isn't love a perfectly good solution to loneliness? Isn't love the deepest, strongest bond we can have with another person? Isn't love the basis of all relationships that matter? The answer is the same to all these questions, yes and no. Love absolutely brings people together. When someone who's been a stranger becomes a lover, in our eyes, he or she becomes infused with an almost surreal importance. It can be hard to tell where you end and they begin, and you both like it that way. But the majestic, heightened state of love has a flip side, one with which we're all too familiar. Love is fickle. You could fall in love with someone who's completely inappropriate for you. You could fall in love with someone who's not available. You could fall in love with someone who doesn't love you back. You could love someone passionately for a period of time and then watch the relationship fizzle for reasons you don't fully understand. And it's not just romantic love. That's largely outside of our understanding. This is getting a little away from what we're talking about, but I'm going to go ahead and roll with it because it rounds out nicely. Expectant parents will attest to the fact that we can love someone before he's even born. We can love people after they die. Whom we love, and no matter when, where, how, and why we love, is largely out of our control. I'm going to read that one again, really quick, whom we love, and no matter when, where, how, and why we love is largely out of our control. So the notion that love is a reliable solution to loneliness is a myth because, simply put, love is a mystery. Closeness, however, is not. We can pick up methods for creating closeness because we know what generates closeness between people and what doesn't. I don't think anyone can say the same about love. So, Kira's words are our jump off for today. I also have an article that I wanted to touch on that is by Brenner, PhD, at Therapy Group of NYC. And his article, Depression and the Modern Loneliness of Online Dating, really resonated with me as I am venturing to create this course, update an actual course that I have that is supposed to help people find the magic in online dating again. So his words talk about the major points of why online dating particularly could feed your loneliness, could feed your depression. He says, according to Pew Research Center, approximately 30% of U.S. adults have tried online dating, and millions more are using dating sites and dating apps regularly. Dating apps are commonly associated with body image issues and low self-esteem, and research suggests that swiping for love, quote unquote, can exacerbate the symptoms of depression. So the major takeaways of this article that he wrote for me were that dating apps fuel social media addiction, online dating makes us question our self-worth, and rejection can happen at any time. And we're going to touch on all of those points, but I kind of wanted to let you know where my research for this episode had led me. So first, let's talk about the love portion, right? So Kira described it pretty, succinctly and eloquently. I'm going to butcher it, I'm sure, in some way. But I kind of want to talk about my own experience with this because if you've heard any of my talks or if you've read any of the articles that I'm quoted in, you know about how I met the love of my life, the photographer who took all the pictures behind me. If you're watching this, how I met him on an app, on an online dating app, right? So that's where these things are coming together. And when I met him, I was coming out of an 11-year marriage, a 18-month separation after an 11-year marriage, where I did not have a sense of self. I had completely given up my sense of self. I had become my kid's mom and that guy's wife, and that was it. I didn't have hobbies. I didn't have values. I didn't have thoughts that were really my own. I kind of just went along with the crowd, and I was not a person that felt that she had any kind of access to her boundaries or her limits. I was doing anything and everything to save my marriage, to keep my husband, to make sure that my family stayed together, because above all, that's what was necessary, right? I gave up so much of myself. I really did. I lost my identity in that relationship. And so coming out of that, it was like this going through being like a teenager or a person in your early 20s again. At least for me, that's what it felt like. And I hate to put an age on things like that, because I really do think that anybody can start over at any time, and we don't have to make it so ageist. I think that when I approached the dating sites, I was not looking for love. I think I was looking for companionship. I think that I was looking for sex. And I think that I was looking for someone who wouldn't make me feel like shit every time I talked to them. So it was like I didn't I didn't really have like a high expectation, I guess, when I started. And then about a month in, after a bunch of time spent on there, just like drunk and not really giving a shit about the exchanges that I had, not really trying, not really not trying, just getting overwhelmed and kind of disgusted with the whole thing. I wrote a list of the things that I wanted and the things that I would not put up with again if I entered into a relationship. And that kind of snowballed into the path of my life for the next 2 years. But it also led me to meet the man who I am going to marry soon. Now, I want you to understand that when I met him, I wasn't in a depressive state. I was actually doing all right. I felt pretty good about where I was in my therapy and like learning about myself and learning about like my self-worth and thinking about the things that I actually like and what do I want to do with my life moving forward and what do I want my life to look like in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? All of these things that happen when you have like a major life change, like your fucking marriage ending. So I felt like in a really good spot with that. And we started dating in January, and by May, we were moving in together. And eventually, by that November, he proposed to me. But those months, that May until probably mid-September of that year, I had an incredibly heavy grief cycle. We moved not horribly far as I'm concerned, and I have driven all over hell and back for many people, many years of my life. But now it seems like we're all so scheduled out. Just any kind of anything over 20 minutes seems annoying. And I am 30 minutes to an hour from most people in my life. And so I wasn't seeing people as much as usual. I had started to have a real scarcity mindset about what was going to happen with my coaching career, with my studies on sexuality. I was worried about my daughter, having trouble in school with kids who were picking on her because, her mom's only 4'10", so she's not like a giant. And middle school is when everyone starts being a real fucking asshole about anything that's different, My son was in a school that I had moved him to that May that was turning out to not be any kind of what it had promised to be. And there was so much turnover, and he's got special needs. He's nonverbal on the autism spectrum, right? So he's been bounced around from non-public school to non-public school as it is. Then through the pandemic, can you fucking imagine? If you don't have a kid that has any kind of special need, I'm sorry, but you actually can't imagine what we were going through during the pandemic and through the pandemic. And um, even kids who don't, even kids who don't need, more supports are fucking flailing, and they still are. Like, everybody lost 2 years, it feels like. Sorry, I am like totally getting off track here, but I'm just trying to like have this sense memory of everything that I was really, really experiencing that first summer that we were living all together. I questioned whether or not I could find enough of myself that I wouldn't fall into the same habits that I had in my marriage and my previous relationships, with just, this kind of learned behavior of being a victim. And I am not trying to say that all people who are survivors of something are, oh, well, you're the victim, so it's your fault. No, 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 no. I fucking hate that shit. And I also hate it when people like compare situations like, oh, well, you didn't have it bad enough and blah, blah, blah. No, I fucking despise that. What I'm saying is, for me, part of my healing journey that summer was going through a absolutely obnoxious grief cycle. And I want to use that word, or those words particularly, because I want people to understand that it's natural and you don't have to pathologize it. You don't have to use like psychiatry or psychology or, therapy speak to describe, holy shit, your entire life has changed and you're not feeling real up to challenges of life. That is an okay thing to have happen. Especially when you have been in a situation where your central nervous system has been activated for the better part of 12 years. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. You can have some time to realize, okay, this sucks. Just, let the people around you know what's going on and try to ask for help. So I am definitely blessed in the fact that this did not terrify my boyfriend, who we had just moved in with, that I was going through this. It actually opened him up a little more to understanding some of the depression or grief he had seen in other people in his life, and was like, oh shit, like that's what that feels like. That's all right. Cool. What can I do to help? And he's a fucking gem. So there's that. I was on the couch probably 6 hours a day for the better part of 6 weeks. I struggled to shower. I was reserving all of my energy to make sure that I could make the lunches, get the kids to school, make sure the kids had help with anything that they needed for after school, make sure the kids had activities, make sure they had fun, have a little sex here and there, make out with my boyfriend here and there, just trying to stay afloat and make sure that those people who were so important to me were taken care of as much as I could. But I was really, really in the suck. And I remember talking to my best friend about it, and he sent me Eckhart Tolle's book. I can't remember the name of it right now. Oh my God, it's going to drive me crazy. I guess I'll have to look it up. But he sent me this book that was like about, just getting out of like, it was like ascension and just, being in your highest state of calm and all of this. What is it called? It's going to drive me crazy. I need to find it. The Power of Now, something like that. Yep, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. If you have ever listened to this book, in a state where you're not even feeling good enough to like shower every day, it is going to make you feel like utter garbage. Just a heads up. uh, there's all these steps. There's like this hierarchy of what you need to feel safe and secure, like financially secure. I can't remember the name of these things because you know what? I'm not a psychologist and I don't have to. But there's this hierarchy, and I always forget it, and now I'm going to have to look that up. That you know you're supposed to feel safe first and foremost. You're supposed to have financial comfort or security, and you're supposed to have like relationship security. Um, the hierarchy of needs, yeah, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and you can find like different kind of breakdowns of it, but at the bottom, it's like your your psychological needs, and then your safety, and then belonging and love, and then esteem, and then cognitive, and then self-actualization, and then transcendence is way up here, right? Like all the way up. And I was under that psychological part of the pyramid. I was drowning without water, and you cannot you cannot skip, you cannot jump those lengths. It's not ideal, it's not possible, really, in my estimation. Other people may say, oh yes, you can absolutely jump steps. I don't think so. Look it up. You can do some research on it. I'm not going to get too into it because, like I said, not a psychologist. I just remember it being something that my social worker therapist told me about, and it opened my eyes to the fact that I was not ready to listen to audible books on transcendence. I needed to figure out why I didn't feel safe and I didn't feel loved when all the evidence was pointing to, yeah, you are. So I guess this leans more toward why. So I want to talk about that. This is an example of why love is not the cure for loneliness, because I was absolutely receiving love. I was being told every day, you're beautiful, you're special, you're a good mom, I appreciate you, I love you, you're the most important person to me. And I could not hear that shit. I absolutely could not hear that shit. There was a lot of self-examination and thinking about what I had survived throughout the course of my life, through several different kinds of traumatic experiences, and the responses that have built up in my body, and the ways that I had kept myself safe in the past by disassociation. Yeah. So I want you to understand that if you are looking at love as the remedy for feeling lonely, being in a grief cycle, or being depressed, I am here to tell you it is not. It absolutely can help. It can make you feel good. It can make you forget for a little bit. But it is not the cure. The cure is inside you. The cure is you realizing how amazing and magical and fucking rocking you are by asking questions, right? You have to ask the questions. What do I bring to the table? Why would somebody love me? What do I want out of this life? Do I even want love? Or is that something that's just going to slow me down and keep me from my fucking goal list? You have to ask those questions and you have to really sit with them and think about your answers and make the decisions that are completely right for you. So I want you to do that. I would very much like it if you're in this spot where you're a single person, right? And you're on these dating sites and you're trying to get to love, get to love, get to love. Oh, I got to figure this out. Oh, I got to get in a relationship. Everybody else is in a relationship. I need to do this. I need to be with somebody. I'm so tired of being alone. I'm so scared of being alone. You know, if you're having those thoughts cycling through your mind, you need to really sit down and think, what is that going to fix? Or do you need to do a reassessment of what you want your life to look like, what you want and desire truly, and what you absolutely don't want to put up with? Right? What are your hell yeses? What are your fuck no's? Do some of that. I want to take a minute to bring it to this kind of like psychology of online dating, right? Now, granted, keep in mind, and I know I keep harping on this, that I'm like not a psychologist or whatever. I want people to ask the right people the right questions. So if you feel like you need more assistance or talk therapy, CBT, cuddle therapy, acupuncture, light healing, energy healing, Reiki, you know, whatever you want to call it. If you're feeling like a hole in your life, like I want you to explore all of these modalities. I want you to really invest in yourself because you are going to be such an amazing partner if you can get really good and secure with yourself, right? It's the things I kind of wish I had done, like completely. I feel so bad for Zachary sometimes that he got, you know, he met this woman, he liked her, he loved her, whatever. And then she had this like horrible fucking grief cycle for 3 months, like 2 weeks after they moved in together, right? And that person is me. I wish I could have worked through the things that I was going through before we had started dating, before we had moved in together. But you know what? I mean, it did work out in the end. So it's not to say that you have to work out all your shit before you meet somebody, because if we're doing this right, we're always working on ourselves, right? We're never stopping wanting to be a better version of ourselves. We're never stopping wanting to be like a more kind or understanding or just available for what you actually want kind of person, right? So yeah, just keep that in mind. It's like, it's a catch-22. Anywho, so let's get back to this article, The Depression and the Modern Loneliness of Online Dating. Now, Dr. Brad Brenner wrote this article. It's pretty recent. It's from March of 2022. And when he talks about how online dating makes us question our self-worth, I feel like that is such a commonality for anyone who is on these dating sites. Like, I think you have to be somebody who is like, you know, pretty confident and pretty savvy and also have an attitude of you know what? I could take it or leave it, kind of, to like win if there's a winning at online dating. I think that people who do the best with it are the ones who are not treating it as another full-time job. If it has gotten to the point where it feels like you're clocking out of your job and then you're clocking in on the online dating site and you're just on it like the whole fucking time you're not working, or maybe while you're working also, you need to put that shit down for like 2 days. You need to just walk away. Because once you have so many times thought about, well, what am I doing wrong? Why am I only meeting duds? Why can't I meet the right guy? You know? Or we start to think, oh, it's us. Oh, God, I just keep having the same result. Oh, it must be me. Like, I must just attract crazy people or mean people or disrespectful people or people who just want to yank my chain and then not actually show up for a date, We have to really think about what we're looking for on a dating app. What are you hoping to get out of this? Right? Are you looking for a soulmate or are you looking for somebody to have fun with? And you need to have a measured response to what people are giving you as feedback. So I guess what I mean by that is if you are getting an awful lot of negative response or no response, and you feel it starting to make you question yourself and your worth and what you bring to the table, sit down, get away from that app and write down 10 things that are awesome about you. I bet you can come up with 10. Now, the other thing that sucks about these apps was a little bit what I was discussing just now is that, it causes like this addiction almost. It's kind of like a social media addiction. What did he say? Last year, Match.com found that 1 in 6 singles reported feeling addicted to online dating apps. That's fucking a lot. While men were 97% more likely to feel addicted than women, 54% of women felt burned out from online dating. Yeah, facts, right? I totally remember that feeling. I remember thinking, this is so much work. And I remember being so sorely disappointed by like the dudes in my age range. Like, just being like these fucking 11-year-olds trapped in a 54-year-old's body. Like basically being like, boobs, I love boobs, kind of guys on the dating app. Yeah, it wasn't my favorite. No, that wasn't my favorite. I also remember feeling like there wasn't anyone that would make sense. Like there just wasn't an option out there for me. And that is about the time that I made that list of what I wanted and what I would absolutely not put up with. I think those are helpful. I think they're really helpful tools. I totally suggest them. Then there's the fact that with online dating, rejection can happen at any time. So back in the day when we were dating, like, in person, you meet somebody in your friend group that you really like. You meet somebody at a bar, you meet somebody at a restaurant. And God damn it, I hope that we're kind of leaning back that way. But it seems like the online dating thing is here to stay. So when we met that way, you got to experience a person at a totally different level before you ever even considered, am I going to use my precious time on this person, right? And conversely, they had time to weigh their options, look around the bar, and decide whether or not they were going to waste your time or theirs. So, with the online, it's like, okay, let's imagine an in-person scenario, right? Online versus in person. In person, you walk up to a lady, you walk up to a guy at a bar, and you walk up to a person, whatever your preference, and you say, hey, what's going on? Can I buy you a drink? That person is going to say yes or no once. When you are online, you can be like in the middle of a meeting at work, right? And get a ping on your phone, on your app, look down, and someone is telling you, sorry, it's not going to work. Or you can be sitting wherever you are with your family, with your friends, at work, while you're walking, while you're running, while you're on the treadmill, while you're, doing anything where you can have your phone in front of your face. That is a moment that you could be either rejected by a message or rejected by the lack of a message. How fucked up is that? Like, we're totally like setting ourselves up to be constantly in the realm of rejection. What the fuck? No wonder people are getting depressed doing this shit. I feel like there's another point is that, you start to become addicted not only to the app or not only to the chase that is happening on the app, but to the response, right? So if you're not getting that response and you're not having that good feeling, because they answered, then it can really pile on. If you look at your profile and you start to wonder why anytime you put a message out, people aren't responding, or when they do respond, it's really awful, or they just seem like awful or not your type. You start to feel like it's got to be something with you, and then that rejection just compiles, right? Yeah. So I don't want to end it on such a terrible note. I do want to talk about how, like I said, I was not perfect. I am not perfect. I will never be perfect. And while I was still in the middle of struggle after I had met my partner online, I had definitely started down a road of self-discovery and realizing my self-worth and wanting to feel like I was making decisions that were totally within my power to make before I did get on the dating app. So I think that that's a good spot to start in. Like, you don't have to be, I'm the most confident person in the world and everyone should want me, because, that's probably pretty delusional for most people, right? I can't imagine a lot of us coming out the gate like that when we get on these sites. Otherwise, why aren't we just meeting, our perfect fucking mate when we walk down the street, because we are so magnetized for all good, right? I do want to touch one more time on that point that Kira made in the end of the excerpt that I read, which was that so the notion that love is a reliable solution to loneliness is a myth because, simply put, love is a mystery. Closeness, however, is not. And I really want to talk about that just for a couple minutes because I know I'm running kind of late for an episode that's just me, and who knows how much you guys actually enjoy me just blathering on to myself. I want to talk about how we really need to take a moment, take a beat, and acknowledge that putting the pressure on this person who you are, visualizing and imagining and setting out an intention in the world to meet, to be all the things: your best friend, your only confidant, your sexual partner, your financial partner, your romantic partner, to wear all of those hats all the time for you. I think that's really fucking unreasonable. And I think that's where a lot of us might get hung up and a little lost when we're doing this. And I think that development of close friendships, that development of that closeness that you can get from people in your family, people in your network, people in your, friend group. I want you to think about how much you're putting this pressure on yourself to find someone to fill spots that maybe you already have the potential to fill yourself. And I think I'm going to leave it at that for today because I don't want to give away everything. You'll never come back. I do want to mention a couple of things. I have the opportunity to do live streams of the upcoming episodes that I, think that you guys might dig that on, but I didn't know what platform anybody likes that on. So if you have an opinion, please send me an email at theintimacyally@gmail.com and let me know. Also, if there's a time or a day that you would really like to have a live and you can ask me questions and let me know what you like about the podcast and what you are just fucking tired of hearing me talk about. Feel free to write me there as well. Also, if you have been hitting subscribe on my website, it has not been working for 6 weeks, maybe 8. Not clear. It works now. So if you have subscribed over the last couple of months and you haven't received your free self-love guide or gotten any kind of email from me, that's why. And I would just love it if you would go ahead and be so kind as to subscribe again. And that is at www.theintimacyally.com. And I'll put all of this in the show notes for you. Also, I have this new course. It will be available in January. It is called Making Online Dating Magical. So hopefully it will help some of you. And if you are interested in that, you can go ahead and subscribe to the website or send me an email. I do believe we will have a wait list up on the website pretty soon. And I think that's it for housekeeping. I'll have a poll on Spotify for the when you might want to do a live or see a live. Yeah, I think that's it for housekeeping. So I'm going to round this out. I'm going to say be kind to each other, stay curious, and strive to never be the smartest person in the room. Have a good week, everybody.
Thank Thank you for tuning in to Storytime with the Intimacy Ally. We hope you learned a bit more about putting the fire back in your romantic relationships, exploring communication and emotional readiness in all relationships, and how to expand your definition of intimacy so you can reach your relationship goals. Go to theintimacyally.com to subscribe and never miss an episode. Follow the links in the show notes to social media and events. Till next time, keep on learning, growing, and thinking. Storytime with the Intimacy Ally podcast is meant for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered as health or mental health advice.